Chapter 1141 is finally here, and Oda continues his incredible streak by not having a break next week, and this being the 7th, or next week's chapter will be the 7th chapter in 8 weeks, meaning that in 2 months we got 7 chapters, and Oda only took 1 week off. So come on, let's not waste time and let's talk about the chapter. And starting with the biggest thing on this chapter, and arguably one of the biggest things that happened in Elbaph arc, Luffy is officially free. He is officially unchained, and the beast has been free, and nothing will be the same ever. And what's crazy to me is that Zoro was the one who freed him. That meaning Zoro has been and will forever be following his captain's orders, even though he wasn't fully convinced that Luffy is by default a nice guy, but he followed his captain's orders and he freed Luffy in one of the most incredible double spreads panels I've ever seen in One Piece, bro. And look at the difference in the sizes, bro. Look at Luffy's size and look at Luffy's size. This is incredible, bro. It's like the difference between me and an ant or something like that. Bro, this is crazy, man. And just look at Luffy's aura, my god. One of the most incredible character designs / aura I've seen probably in One Piece post-time skip or in One Piece ever, bro. And what I liked about the whole situation, the whole segment of them freeing Luffy, is that at the very moment Zoro and Luffy saw him all in wounds and all of that, fully injured and all of that, they felt kinda sympathy for him, but not fully sympathy, because they kinda felt that he might be fooling them. So Zoro just made sure that he isn't fooling them, and by kicking or attacking the injured part of him, and then he felt it, so they knew that he wasn't fooling them and he was fully injured. And they saw some traces in here, so they realized that someone was here and Luffy was not fooling them and he is truly injured. And this moment is the key for the relationship of Luffy and Luffy, or the key part of Luffy being a nice guy or not, is the very moment where Luffy was talking to Zoro and Zoro was telling Luffy that they wanted food to heal Luffy, as Luffy saying that meat is usually the thing that gives the injured people the energy to get back to their fully energy and all of that. But at that time Zoro said there are a lot of animals in here, so we should just bring one of them and make Luffy eat them. And Luffy said, no, we cannot eat our friends. This is a crucial part of a key part of Luffy being a nice guy in here, because I'm fully aware and I truly know that Luffy was aware of what Luffy was saying, and he listened what Luffy was saying. He might be conscious at that time, he might not be aware of like what's going on in there, but he listened to what Luffy said. And this is gonna be a key part of the relationship of Luffy and Luffy, and by that is where Luffy is gonna be one of us, okay? Not it doesn't necessarily have to be that he's gonna be a Straw Hat, but it's gonna play a huge part of Luffy being a nice guy, because he's gonna realize that Luffy is truly a nice guy. Or it might be the time where Luffy sees the white form of Luffy. When he finally sees Nika himself, he's gonna believe that this man is the man that I'm supposed to follow. And this is the very moment of Luffy being a nice guy. Because what Hiroden was saying kinda scared me, because he was talking about him like he was talking about Frieza, man. It was crazy. He was trying to convince him that he was trying to convince Luffy and Zoro that he's not the guy that you think he is. Even if he's telling you something, he's lying. He's the kind of guy that he might kill his best friend. This is crazy, man. But that's why I feel like this might be true, but at the same time, the only part, or the only reason that's gonna make Luffy a nice person for once in his life, or finally making him a truly nice person, is the moment where he sees the white form of Luffy, where he finally sees Nika, the man or the god that he was trying to be, or he was trying to create, or he was trying to reincarnate in this life of One Piece, and he's gonna be obeying Luffy's orders because he is truly the Nika of this world. And what's crazier in this is that Loki was injured, but the very moment they unchained him, they freed him, he doesn't look like he's injured, or he doesn't even look like he's been through something. It's crazy, and this is why I feel like it has to do something with his devil fruit. Trust me, guys, it has to do something with his devil fruit. I mean, you cannot have a legendary type zone devil fruit and all of a sudden being uninjured when they finally just unchained him from the Kairoski and all of that, so he turned on, or his devil fruit just by default got turned on. Oh, okay, I heard it. Okay, so you get my point. The devil fruit is the reason he got healed, if that makes sense, okay? And that is why I'm so interested to see, because it definitely has to do something with the Vikings beliefs, or the Vikings legendary probably creatures. I'm certain that it has to do something with that, okay? Especially when he called his axe Ragnar, bro. He called him Ragnar. This is crazy, okay? This is so crazy, and we all know who's Ragnar is. In the Vikings' heritage and ancient stories, we all know who's Ragnar is. So calling your axe Ragnar, bro, and your name being Loki, yeah, Oda's definitely cooking something with Loki. And Elbaph arc is not gonna be the only arc for Loki. He's truly and definitely gonna be probably one of the most important characters in One Piece in the final saga. And the final two parts that I want to talk about in this chapter, I mean, it wasn't like the greatest chapter ever, and it wasn't like the worst chapter ever. It's kinda a setup chapter for next week's chapter, because we haven't seen anything from the Holy Knights, we haven't seen anything from Scooper Gaban, we haven't seen any development in... It's just Loki. This chapter was only Loki. It's only Loki getting unchained, and this is it. And this is definitely a setup chapter for next week's chapter. So the only 2 points that I wanted to talk about in this chapter, other than the Loki stuff, is Gerald. And usually I wouldn't care about this stuff because it's the usual Oda gag, right? But why I want to talk about, because it was the title of this chapter. So what if, because he said I like older women, that means the older woman that is older than him, which is, there's not a single human being left on this planet Earth who's older than Gerald. Never mind a woman, okay? Unless this is definitely a foreshadowing from Oda to Imu. Trust me, guys, there's not a single chance that this wasn't a foreshadowing from Oda to Imu-sama. This is definitely it, because this means this is a foreshadowing from Oda that the only human being left on this planet Earth who's older than Gerald is Imu-sama. Never mind that him mentioning a woman, and Imu-sama is a female. So it definitely has to do something with Imu-sama, because there's not a single chance of Oda making this the title of the chapter instead of anything Loki related than this, meaning that it has to do something. It has to do with Imu-sama, alright? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that Gerald knows Imu-sama. I mean, okay, he most probably doesn't know anything about Imu. He doesn't know that Imu exists, okay? But this is just something from Oda. You know, the stuff that Oda usually puts like any foreshadowing from like 600 chapters ago or something. It doesn't have to do with the chapter, with the character itself that he foreshadowed that thing in. But just simple foreshadowing from Oda to us readers that in the future we're gonna get back to this chapter and I'm gonna say, oh, you get it, right? And the final thing that I wanted to talk about in this chapter is when Frankie was talking to Ripley. Was it Ripley or Gert? No, Ripley, yeah, because Sanji was with Gert, with Hyroden, with Luffy and Lucky and Zoro. Okay, so when Frankie was talking to Ripley, and Ripley said that fire and lightning are the only weakness that Elbaph has. Think about it. Big Mom, bro. Big Mom, bro. You can, let's look at this picture. Bro, it's literally fire and lightning. You cannot tell me otherwise. Unless, that means Nika, Luffy, Sun God Nika, Sun, and Loki's devil fruit. Or let's say Ragnar, because Ragnar has to do something with lightning. Or let's say his devil fruit, Loki's devil fruit. So this means Luffy, Loki, Sun, or fire, Lightning. And yeah, so it might be Big Mom, or it could be Luffy and Lucky, and I guess this is it. I guess I covered everything in this chapter, unless you wanted me to talk about Usopp being drunk. Yeah, so yeah, I guess this is it, guys. Drop your thoughts on the chapter. I don't know, I'm gonna give it, I think 7.5 or 8 out of 10 is kind of fair. So drop your ratings on this chapter and your thoughts on this chapter, and I guess thank you guys for watching. Mwah.